This is indeed the last mystery hour of the year. Mike writes, good Lord, we need it. This has been a really heavy week. Paul writes, has there ever been a need for mystery hour? What a tough morning even. Diane wants to know if this is the last of the year, as does David, to which the answer is, of course, yes, it is. So it may even have a festive flavour. If you've got a Christmas mystery, we've almost certainly dealt with it before, and I've almost certainly forgotten the answer. So why not squeeze that into... I nearly said squeeze that into my stocking, but I think that would have sounded a bit wrong. 7 after 12 is the time. Ian's in Sutton Coldfield. Ian, question or answer?
Hi, James. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome.
Question, please.
Carry on.
Why is it that whenever you buy trainers, it's majority of the time it's trainers. I haven't had this with like casual shoes too, but majority of the time the laces that come with them are always significantly too long, and sometimes unreasonably too long.
Unreasonably? Where is the line? How long is a piece of string? Where is the line between reasonably too long and unreasonably too long? Well,
to the extent where you think, well, I don't want to double lace these, or double bow them.
Well, isn't that the answer to your question? Do the young people not do fancy lacing on their trainers, for which they need the longer ones?
Well, I mean, whenever that's happened to me, I've thought, well, I don't want to double bow them because it looks odd. And, whenever you see people that have done that, you know why they've done that. And it's not like they've sat at home and thought, well, today I'm going to double bow my laces because it isn't that. Well,
not double bowing. I'm talking about doing their things where they kind of look different. Like skateboarders always had laces on their trainers that look different from how mine look.
Yeah, but for the rest of the population that buy trainers, I think, well, wait a minute, this is just,
Wait a minute. How irritated are you by the unreasonably long? And does it happen with every pair? Because I now buy the same trainers in a different style 2 or 3 times a year. I've never had a problem with my laces.
Well, it doesn't seem to be tied to a brand either, because, I mean, I've bought the same brand before. It's like, well, wait a minute, why are these okay and these ones too long?
It's the young people. It's the young people, but I'll find out more detail for you shortly.
Okay.
It will be the young people. It's always the young people. All the things that mystify old people are usually down to the actions and the desires of the young people.
Well, I mean, on Monday I went to Oxford and, walked around like I did. And as I, went around there for the day, but as I got back to the Pear Tree Park and Ride, got back into my car, my laces were just like frayed and muddy. And that's when I came up with the thought, I've got a mystery out.
This can't be right. Why are they? Martin agrees with you.
Well, there you go.
That's 2. 2 swallows do not a summer make. Why are the laces on new trainers so unreasonably long? 0345 6060 973. Seema's just triple bowed hers, so it does happen. Steve, I'm not supposed to read texts, am I? I think I know the answer already. What? Hang on, come back, Ian.
Yep.
What size are you?
9.
Oh, okay. That's not quite the zinger I was hoping it was going to be, but it may prove to be pertinent. I will say no more on that subject. Thank you, Ian. Will's in Camberwell. Will, question or answer?
Question.
Carry on.
I get the train quite a lot. And
so
I want
trainers
to know...
from trainers to trains?
Hey, exactly that, yeah.
Hey, what comes after that? Trays. Do you think anyone will have a question about trays?
You never know on mystery hour.
You never know on mystery hour, mate. God, just carry on.
So I'm a bit of a neat freak, right? And I've been on trains in other countries, and you get litter and stuff on the tracks.
Yeah.
And we're pretty tidy for that. But what I want to know is, why is there so much track-related stuff, maybe junk, maybe not, on the train, on the railway line?
You mean like sleepers and like bits of engineering and stuff like that?
Exactly, actual tracks between the 2 tracks. You think, what's that for? Are you halfway through building something? Or guys,
that's such a good question. I have had exactly the same thought. In fact, I've almost certainly said to myself, "Oh, that would be a good one for Mystery Hour," and then forgotten when Thursday at 12 comes around exactly what it was I'd filed away earlier in the week to stick on the board. So you're talking about stuff that looks like it is necessary for building work, for rail maintenance, and rather than it being kept in I don't know. It's just
in a shed somewhere.
It's not unneat. It can be stacked up. It can be piled up quite nicely sometimes. Yeah. It's not like just strewn. Otherwise, it would pose a hazard to the trains. But why is it there? I like that.
What's it for? Is it just in case something breaks next week? Oh, we've got a track. We've
got some track ready. Don't worry. And is it there because they know that they're going to be doing some maintenance next week, and we arrive at the erroneous conclusion that it's there all the time?
But somebody out there knows, James.
Somebody out there always knows, Will. Somebody out there always knows. We shall find out for you. Trainers and trains. A lot of pressure on Alex in Banbury now to ask a question about trays, so that we could have just lost one syllable almost on each, or at least one element of the word. We go from trainers to trains to Alex in Banbury. Alex, question or answer?
It's a question, and I'm afraid it's got nothing to do with trainers or trains.
You could have come up with one. You could have come up with a question about trays. What would be a question about trays? When were trays invented? You could have just said, when were trays invented, Alex? For God's sake, do I have to do all the heavy lifting myself? Go on, what's your question?
So it's about people. It's trying to work out, why is there only one species of people? Yet with dogs, with cats, with flies, lots of other animals, there's lots of different types of each one.
There's only one species.
But with dogs,
you mean lions? Sorry, no, lions and tigers and bears. I thought you meant tortoise shells and tabbies and. Well, I think the answer is.
Sorry, breed. I mean.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Oh no, breed. You don't mean breed. You do mean species. So tigers are cats.
Tigers are cats, but they're a type of cat.
Yes.
But actually, within the tigers, there's different breeds of tigers, aren't there?
I see, as well. Well, but you could say there are different breeds of humans, couldn't you, in the context of... not in terms of DNA. Not in terms of DNA. I don't know, really.
Because I think a dog doesn't necessarily mate with a different type of dog.
No.
They almost know, whereas people...
I don't know.
I don't think skin colour makes it a different breed.
Type.
Yeah.
I don't know, because dogs can... Well, lions and tigers can mate together. It's called a liger.
Yeah, absolutely. But doesn't that make it a new, type?
I don't want this question to get overcomplicated, not least because I think I know the answer to it.
Okay.
So what we're talking about is Homo sapiens, right?
Yep.
And the other types of humanoid most obviously would include Neanderthals.
Yep. But they've died out.
So no, they haven't died out. We killed them all.
Okay.
So it's we are, brutal though it sounds, an evolutionary success story in that we wiped out all potential rivals, and other animals, other creatures have not done that.
Okay. Whereas, I don't know, a pug, for example, might wipe out maybe a Great Dane might wipe out all the pugs.
Sounds like a Disney film now, but there's no evolutionary advantage to be gained. Also, they're domesticated, so they're not doing much wipeout. So humans are supposedly domesticated as well. But that is the answer. That is the answer.
Okay.
We have, because I've been reading about, I think we may even have engaged in some cannibalism. I say we. When I say we, Alex, I speak for every Homo sapiens ever. I think we may have engaged in some cannibalism as well of Neanderthals. I think I was reading that this week. I think we might have eaten them. Okay. Yeah, lovely, isn't it? That put you off your lunch. So
if they were still around, there would be a couple of different types of people.
Yeah, and they were perfectly capable of surviving. They were equipped to survive until we came along and eradicated them.
Okay. Oh, very interesting. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you for your genuine interest. It'll turn out now. I'm pretty sure I'm right. I'm going to give myself a round of applause. But, there's always a chance that someone will come along. There'd have been a bit of interbreeding as well. But in terms of why they are no longer here, it's because Homo sapiens prevailed. I'll leave it open, but I'll take the round of applause. Someone may be able to add to it. Or just confirm that I'm right while sounding a bit cleverer than me, which, let's be honest, shouldn't be hard. I've already had a laugh out loud moment with my comments about stuffing my stocking. So, maybe I could have issued a guarantee this week, but we'll see how we'll get on. 12:17. Why do trainers have such... do you know one of my favourite words? And it comes from my fondness of Viz magazine and one particular character in Viz. Unfeasibly. It's a lovely word. Why do trainers have such unfeasibly long laces? Why do train tracks, why is there so much what I would describe as useful detritus, if that's not a contradiction in terms, in the areas of, or a description of Keith, in the areas around railway tracks? So you're on the train and you look out and there's a sort of pile of random sleepers over there, or a few wheels possibly stacked up and on your way in. Why? Why aren't they all in a warehouse or on the back of a maintenance train or something? You see what I mean? I don't think you see it in other countries. I could be wrong. I did Alex's question. That was me drawing on my evolutionary knowledge in spectacular fashion, which means there's room for more questions. 0345 606 0973. Rachel is in Coventry. Rachel, question or answer?
Question, please.
Carry on, Rachel.
Okay, so if a person has £1 million, we'll call them a millionaire.
Yes.
For us in the UK, it'd be GBP.
Yeah.
But how does that translate over to different currencies? Because, for example, Japanese yen, 1 million Japanese yen converts to about 5,000 GBP. So at what point does a person become a millionaire, and how is it calculated and worked out across currencies?
Keith, when's the last time we did a round of applause for a question? Can we do one now, please? That's an absolute stinger. I love it. I love that question. So what would you be in Japan? What is, maybe they don't have anything.
I think the millionaire, I think that's got to be a global term, I'm sure.
Don't spoil it. You've got your round of applause now. Why would it have? Because that's my first thought was maybe it is just a Anglosphere thing. Because dollars, you'd be a dollar millionaire, right?
Yep.
Pounds, as you say, Australian dollars, probably. How much? Are you good on conversion
no,
rates?
I'm absolutely awful. I just know that one example.
You just looked up you just knew that. Okay, so
it was on a podcast at some point, and then I was like, "What?" And that was that moment where I'll write it down because that's a mystery hour question.
I love it. What do you have an equivalent to millionaires in countries where the currency doesn't lend itself to the idea of $1 million being an achievement?
But that with the base being GBP, because where does that get?
Yeah.
Where does that get decided? Everything's not decided on GBP. So
I like it. Well, I think we are all, as Mark points out, Zimbabwean millionaires, which kind of proves your point, doesn't it? I like it. I love that. I love that question. It may turn out not to have an answer, but that doesn't stop it being a brilliant question. I mean, what do you do? Other countries, Japan is the most obvious, where there's nothing above a yen. It's not like pennies and then pounds. There's nothing above it. So it can't be a new unit. Do they just not have the concept of a millionaire? Is there no roughly statistical synonym for very rich? That's what it is, right? It's a statistical synonym for very rich, a millionaire or a billionaire. So it works really well with pounds. What does it do? What happens in countries where the unit of currency doesn't lend itself to that kind of nomenclature? Thank you, Rachel. Jack's in Croydon. Jack, question or answer?
Answer.
Carry on.
Right. In terms of the railway stuff, a lot of it indeed is old junk that hasn't been collected.
Oh.
But most of it is actually preparations for the engineering work. If you think about it, engineering work usually takes place over the weekend, and that's where the job actually needs to be done. You don't have time to transport the stuff. You don't have time to procure the stuff. It has to be prepared in advance, and more so. Steel needs to be seasoned. It needs to be taken.
Oh, of course it does. Yes.
Yes, it needs to be taken from the factory, from the steelworks, lay on the ground, where in the forefoot, where you see it in between tracks in the forefoot on the sleepers. So it works a little bit outside in the atmosphere,
yeah, of course. Like oxidization and what have you,
yes, it shrinks, expands, and finally, gets to a sort of stable state, and that's when you can actually lay the tracks. Because otherwise, you might be in a situation where you lay the tracks straight from the factory, and they shrink overnight. So that's why there's a lot of junk out and about.
And can you hang on? What are your qualifications?
I'm a train driver.
Good answer. And can you tell the difference between what's almost abandoned and what is ready to be deployed?
Well, definitely, because you're on those tracks day in, every day of the year. So you do see stuff that's been there for years on end, and it's just junk. And
seems a bit suboptimal, that. It could be worth a few quid, even in scrap.
Possibly, but there's a lot of it that doesn't have any value,
Yeah, you're probably
or it's just
right.
expired, yeah.
If there's any money to be made, then the privatised train companies would have made it by now, wouldn't they?
I think so.
They'd have dished it out in dividends to their shareholders. Jack, have a round of applause. Thank you very much. A very good point being made in reference to Rachel's question, which is the television programme Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? What would it be called in other countries? There you go. That's a really clever way. Well done. Yes. I think Remy was the first person to point that out to me, so I like that. Jackie is in, is it Wivenhoe or I think I ask this every time someone rings from Wivenhoe or Wivenhoe. Is it Wivenhoe or Wivenhoe?
Wivenhoe.
Wivenhoe. Okay. Question or answer? Well, answer. Sorry, I don't know why that made me chuckle so much. Carry on, Jackie.
Hi. Question, please, James.
Carry on.
I have a dog, and we have bamboo in our garden.
Yeah.
And when she's out in the garden, she stands by the bamboo.
Really?
She goes into this trance, and she just you could just see her tail drop, and she slightly rocks from side to side, and she's just in this weird zone. And I don't know whether it's the frequency of the bamboo or whatever, but she just goes into this really strange zone.
The sound frequency. So she's hypnotised by it almost.
I think so. Well, we're trying to work it out. We don't know, but we're just the bamboo obviously can grow quite quickly. So does she hear that? I don't know. But it's really strange. She literally stands by it, and you just see her just go. Her tail drops, and then she starts rocking from side to side, and she's just it's very strange. And we'd like to know if it is the bamboo or something else. I don't know.
And how long does it last for?
Couple of minutes, and then you'll see her come out of it. Her tail will come up.
And do you ever have any other dog visitors?
Not noticed it on other dogs.
You don't normally bring your dog around other people's house, do you?
We went to my friend's house. She's got bamboo, and she did the same thing early this year. Yeah, same thing.
That's fascinating. What sort of dog is it?
Schnauzer, standard Schnauzer.
The standard Schnauzer. So there's no links with the chimney sweeping industry or anything like that?
I don't know.
Unlikely.
She looks like a chimney sweeper. She's messy, scruffy.
Okay. I don't know how many other people are singing the old Dick Van Dyke song in their heads at the moment, but I certainly am. All right, I love that. And have you ever asked anyone else? Have you ever asked other people if their dogs have got a strange relationship with bamboo? Yeah.
We've just, as a family, we've discussed it, and we just and whoever we've been with, we just don't know. So it's just one of those things. We just would like to know.
And does he lift his paw? Like mine lifts her paw sometimes. So even though she's a tiny and ridiculous little thing, she thinks she's some sort of jungle creature. She lifts her paw as if she's about to go off and savage an elephant.
And point, yeah.
Yeah. Does she do that?
No, she does. She sort of rocks. It's more of sort of rocking very slowly from side to side, and her tail goes down, and she's just almost frozen.
Okay, I love that question.
Really
someone will know. I guarantee someone will know the answer to
I hope so.
We shall find out. Thank you, Jackie. There we go.
Thanks.
Why does Jackie's dog react so strangely to bamboo? What do countries with currencies where having a million of the currency wouldn't be a very big deal? What do they have any equivalent of millionaires? And why do trainers have such unfeasibly long laces? Dennis is in Romford. Dennis, question or answer?
Hi there, James. Yeah, it's a question, James.
Yes, hello.
Hi, James. I wanted to find out. I was on a very rare trip to London on Tuesday.
Oh. I'm sorry I missed you.
Well, do you know what? It's funny because I was looking for your Mystery Hour board game in Hamleys.
Oh, yes.
Before I went to Fortnum Mason.
Oh, very nice.
This is my question. So I'm a bit of I've been in many I've followed the royal family and been behind a barrier waiting to see a member of the royal family. And on Tuesday in Fortnum Masons, I found myself literally standing next to Camilla. She's buying her tea.
Camilla who?
Camilla, our queen.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What, just like normally?
It's in the Daily Mail today. It's in the. It's been on Lorraine this morning.
Well, thanks to you. Were you the source of the story?
Yeah.
What did you do then? You just got on you got on the blower. Sorry to keep interrupting you, but I need the details here. You just got on the blower, did you? Or
yeah, I just couldn't believe. How close people have been out against the royal family has been a bit of a thing over the last couple of weeks, and I couldn't believe I was standing at a table looking at biscuits and teas.
Yeah. Ground floor then, was it? Ground floor.
It's. Do you know what? I think it was. Is it not the second floor?
No, mate. Tea's on the ground floor. Tea's on the ground floor.
It is ground floor.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're right. Ground.
Biscuits on the right. Biscuits on the right. Tea on the left.
Yeah. Yeah, but I
blowing my cover now as a champagne socialist.
No, yeah. How do they manage? how can they secure such a major public figure? And it was, I mean, there was, I mean, I did just, I snapped the video and got a little video of her in there shopping. But how do they secure, like,
well, they
like
don't. I mean, they don't. I mean, it's about risk management, and there'd be no real risk in place there. So there would have been. Did you notice close protection squad people nearby?
At a distance, I did see a couple. Not as many as I thought there would be.
No,
if I'm honest.
And you're sure? I know that the media has joined in on this, but you're sure it wasn't David's Auntie Doris, who apparently is a dead ringer for Camilla?
No, I'm sure. I'm absolutely.
Right. So you're surprised by the lack of security. I'm not surprised by the lack of security because they all kind of go about their business. Sometimes Prince Philip used to drive around in a black cab with a cap on and just go incognito. They all do that.
Right. I didn't realise. I was quite...
No, you'd expect them all because you only ever see them at public engagements, and because public engagements are scheduled, the risk is much higher because everybody knows that they're going to be somewhere, which means, God forbid, anyone did wish them ill, they get advance notice of where they're going to be. So you have the. You have a much higher level of security with the close. I got a mate who's in close protection actually, and they have different levels. They'll have different amounts of people deployed. They'll have different tactics in place. And on something like that, a private shopping trip, it would be a relatively run-of-the-mill operation. So I'd be amazed if she didn't have close protection officers nearby. But I'm not remotely surprised. I tell you what. If it had been Morrison's, Dennis, then you'd have a story.
That's true.
If it was Lidl, mate, you'd be on the front pages, wouldn't you? But I don't. So it's not. I mean, as Ruby says, she's got to be somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that I think is it. I'll leave it on the board. Bruce says he used to see Harry everywhere, and it's true. And Diana used to go out a lot as well, even later in life. So I think that I've given you an answer. Are you satisfied with that?
I just wondered, is there because obviously you have everyone listening. Yes. Would there be an extra kind of closed circuit security that would have
no, fair enough. There will be. There'll be. I mean, we'll find out. So I won't take the round of applause at this point, but we'll try just someone to explain. Is it normal for us very senior members of the royal family to go shopping incognito?
Okay.
What did she buy?
That's good. I did. Well, I didn't end up buying it, James. I think I'm too mean. It was 15 quid for a pot of tea.
Well, I know. And the little tins with the like nice fancy silky tea bags in them. The tin is beautiful, right? 15 tea bags in it. 15 tea bags for about 10 quid. 15 tea bags. What did she buy? Is the big story.
Well, we literally had the same thing, and she had the same thing as what I had. There was biscuits,
she can afford it, mate. She can afford it, Dennis, can't she?
She probably gets it for free, let's be honest.
Royal warrants, she'll just slip them. They've got royal warrants coming out their ears down at Fortnum. I like that question. And did your footage get picked up anywhere?
Yeah, it's on the Daily Mail. It's been
that's your footage. They sent it. It's been on. And do you get paid for that? Can you afford some biscuits now?
Listen, who knows? Who knows?
Very well.
Get
a little hamper sent round to Dennis's. 12:32 is the time. You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. Tim Humphrey has your headlines.
A man who repeatedly drugged his then wife and invited strangers to rape her while she was unconscious has been jailed for 20 years. Dominic Pellico kept thousands of photos and videos of the abuse. Southern Water says a fault which left tens of thousands of people in Hampshire with no water has been fixed, but it says restoring supplies will be a gradual process to avoid bursts. And as expected, the Bank of England has kept the base rate of interest on hold at 4.75%. It follows figures yesterday showing inflation rose to 2.6% last month. LBC weather, sunny spells for many, but showers in the north and west, wintry in places, a high of 8 degrees.
Just looking at the coverage of Kerry's case, the Hughes Law question, it occurred to me that Christmas must be one of the worst times for people to be processing news of a life-limiting diagnosis or, of course, losing somebody you love, facing homelessness or simply struggling with the pain of feeling alone. And that's why LBC's charity Globals Make Some Noise is arguably even more important at this time of year than it is at others. I am doing an event next year, a one-off live recording of my podcast, Full Disclosure, with a very special guest, Carol Vorderman. And if you're looking for a way to give back this Christmas, then you can obviously get the tickets for yourself or give them as a gift to a friend. But the money, all the money raised, will go to Global's Make Some Noise. You don't need me to tell you about the good causes that Global's Make Some Noise supports every year and indeed all year. It's in February of next year. As I say, all the proceeds go to Make Some Noise. And if you go to makesomenoise.com, you can find out more about how to buy your tickets, because the tiny projects we support really need your support to make sure that no one is left facing life's toughest challenges alone. I got a lot of royal anecdotes coming into the programme now. Eric saying that he lived on Anglesey when Prince William was stationed there. He used to regularly bump into Kate in the pasta aisle at Waitrose in Menai Bridge. This one's unsigned. Princess Di once overtook me on the M11, James. She was driving an Audi... Well, actually, you don't say who was driving an Audi convertible. You just say driving an Audi convertible. Whether I presume it was her. It would be a slightly odd anecdote to share if you were telling me what car you were driving. Harty's been in touch, in danger of choking on the milk of human kindness or overdosing on seasonal joy. He says, you and Carol Vorderman, crikey, that will be absolutely unbearable. That's a lovely way to spend your day, isn't it? It's like people who tell you that they're not listening, or I turn off every day at 10 o'clock. Do you spend your whole life doing that? Do you sort of go up to colleagues at work and say, I'll tell you what, I won't be watching tonight. I won't be watching Coronation Street tonight. I hate Coronation Street. It's so odd, isn't it, when your life is so bent that you think your negativity... Do you text every show that you don't listen to, or just every event that you don't like the look of, or just... I don't know. The mysteries of humankind, eh? 12:36 is the time, and Mystery Hour is underway. I know one of these answers. I should have seen it, but I didn't, so I can't take it. Why do trainers have such unfeasibly long laces? What do countries where million is no big deal do in place of a millionaire? And we've brought the game into it a little bit. Why does Jackie's dog go so strange at the sight of bamboo? And I think I've pinned down Dennis's question about the Queen, but... if you can do it from a position of expertise, if your qualifications are better than mine, I think Dennis deserves that extra dimension of satisfaction today. Seth's in St John's Wood. Seth, question or answer?
Answer, James.
Carry on.
It's the answer to the millionaire question.
Yes.
In South Asia, these countries, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh,
yes,
and also Burma and Sri Lanka, actually, which incidentally comprise a quarter of humanity.
Gosh.
The population, if you add it up.
Yes.
They have a word for, in fact, they have two words, one for millionaire equivalent, the other for a billionaire equivalent. Now, a millionaire, somebody who's very rich, in the old days, they would call a lakpati. And a billionaire, they would call a crorepati. Oh. Now, a lakpati is 1 lakh. 1 lakh of anything is 100,000.
Okay.
So 100,000 rupees in the old days would have been an enormous sum of money. Nowadays, I think the conversion of Indian rupee to the pound sterling, I could be wrong, but it's approximately 120 rupees to the pound.
Right.
So about 200 years ago, and at that time, 100,000 rupees was an enormous sum. So he was called a lakpati. Oh. But somebody who was super, super rich had 100 lakhs, which comes to 10 million. And the figure for 10 million in all these languages, whichever language it is in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, is a crore.
C-R-O-R-E. That's in English. That's in the English language as well.
In English.
Yeah.
In even in the local language, it is called crore. In Bengal, they call it koti, which is the same word. So it is crore.
You're right. It's the Indian numbering system, but I am familiar with that word. I think I might have used it in Scrabble.
Right. So crore.
10 million. 10 million.
Yeah, 10 million. So if you are super duper rich, you are not a lakpati, you are a crorepati.
That's fantastic. And it's going to have, other countries are going to have their own versions of this, aren't they, depending on the relationship between linguistics and currency?
Well, funnily enough, I personally know Burma because I've traveled there. I'm from Bangladesh.
Right.
So I've gone across to Burma quite a few times. They have crore in Burma.
Yes.
And I am 90% sure that in Sri Lanka, which also has the rupee, Burma used to have the rupee in the old days, but now is the chat. But India, Pakistan have the rupee, and it basically comes from the transliterated rupee into. So that is where it comes from. So it's the Lakpati, millionaire, crorepati, billionaire.
What's the second word? How do you spell the second word?
The first one, the lakh.
No. The putty bit of it. How do you spell that?
Pati is P-A-T-I.
Patti. Okay, that's fascinating.
Patti.
You've got an amazing voice, Seth.
Have I?
Yes, you could have been an actor. You could do voiceovers. Maybe you are. Maybe you do.
No, I used to win a few elocution contests.
I'm not surprised. It's not just your elocution, but the timbre of your voice is it's magnificent, like a finely aged oak.
Well, I'm close to 80 years old now, so it's a bit late.
A lot of people commenting on it, not just me. Anthony says this man's voice is amazing. It really is. I might get you to record. I might get you to record a Christmas message for us, or to do my next audio. Could you do my next audio book, Seth? People are sick of the sound of my voice. I love that. Thank you. And a round of applause. A big round of applause for Seth.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. 12:41 is the time. I want to sound like Seth when I grow up. Elliot's in Uruguay. Elliot, question or answer?
Hi, yes, it's an answer.
Carry on.
And it's to the same question about millionaires abroad.
Well, I've just realised that we could now take about 100 calls from 100 different countries with 100 different answers to the same question.
You could, and I think a lot of the answers might be quite similar as well. Of course, in some countries, they're just talking in US dollars.
Yes, of course.
Rather than in their local currency. But yes. where we are in Uruguay, we have Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It's the same format. It's the same TV program, more or less. Yeah. But the prize money is 2 million pesos uruguayos.
Okay.
Which if you convert that back, that's only about 34 grand.
Oh, okay. So and that's still considered a big win in Uruguay.
But it's still considered a big win, although it's a very expensive country as far as South America is concerned. But yeah, so we talk of millonarios here, just as we would do in the UK. But generally speaking, we're talking in US dollars.
Okay, and of course which is why it's an international currency, isn't it? It's why when you went to sort of Soviet Russia and things like that, people were desperate to get their hands on the buckaroos. What are your qualifications? Just living in Uruguay, I suppose.
International man of mystery, I'd like to say.
No, that's not a qualification. That's a dream. That's a dream, Elliot.
I've just travelled quite well. Similarly, in Colombia, we used to live in Colombia, and it's a very similar situation there. They have the same TV program, but there the prize money is like 300 million.
Well, that was in Slumdog Millionaire, wasn't it? And it was still called Millionaire. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Lovely stuff. Round of applause for Elliot.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I was so hypnotised, a bit like Jackie's dog with bamboo. I was so hypnotised by Seth's voice, I forgot to ask him what his qualifications were, but he kind of told us in the course of the conversation. Phil's picked me up on that. I do apologise, Phil. 12:43 is the time. Nyron is in Deptford. Nyron, question or answer?
Question, please.
Carry on.
Right. So for somebody like myself who isn't into construction at all, I have always wondered how in the world do they get cranes up? Yeah. Or how are they constructed? These things they're really tall. Sometimes they look like they're even sort of touching the clouds. But I've always wondered how are they put together?
Yeah, you've come to the right place.
I hope so.
No, you have. I love cranes. Cranes and bridges, mate. They're my things.
Wicked.
I get a weird sense, but a bit like Jackie's dog with bamboo. I can look at a bridge or a crane. I don't know why. I think it's something to do with the human dominion over nature. It's how we tame. No, they are very big. They are very big. Don't worry.
Yeah, huge.
I know. And the answer's going to surprise you.
So do you actually know they are?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, wicked.
I do. So, I mean, obviously, a crane is not delivered complete to the building site.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, I gathered that much, yeah.
So what happens is a mobile crane builds the permanent crane. So you've got you start with concrete, because it's going to be properly rooted, And then the mobile crane will build it up like Lego almost, just piece by piece until it's finished. And then the mobile crane goes away, which is, in a way, what makes it seem like a magic trick. Because if the mobile crane was still there, then we'd all be like, oh, that's how they do it. But because the mobile crane is never there, unless you're lucky enough or sad enough to find yourself standing outside building sites, hypnotised by the process of a crane being built. That is how they do it.
Oh, amazing.
It is, isn't it?
That's not bad.
I love that.
Yeah,
and it's amazing to watch.
That.
It's amazing to watch as well. I wanted to do the show from Upper Crane once, but we couldn't get the insurance. A true story, not a joke. We just couldn't. I wonder if we'd get it now. Now I'm such a big shot. The company would make a difference. I've always wanted to, from a really high, and I used to have, went through a phase, Nyron, of having a lot of listeners up cranes who would always be telling me that they were up cranes, but because I've stopped mentioning, I know they're still listening, but they're often listening up cranes. All sorts of questions about cranes over the years. It's cranetastic. So I get a nice round of applause for that, and you go away happy. It's 12:45. Royal fans couldn't believe their eyes when they spotted Queen Camilla out doing her Christmas shopping at the luxury department store Fortnum & Mason. It's true, this is Dennis, isn't it? He's got all the pictures there and everything. Didn't give them his name, though. He was a bit coy. I don't know why. Here it is. Because I couldn't believe my eyes, he says. I was up in London for a rare trip, and there she was. He looked across the table and was taken aback to see the Queen standing opposite him with the same tin. I love that. That was funny. Anyway, back to Mystria. Richard's in Loughton. Richard, question or answer?
Question, please, James.
Carry on, Richard.
So I'm a painter and decorator.
Oh, yes.
And I started a job at the start of this week and was prepping the door frames.
Yes.
And there was a big sort of gloop of the tree sap coming out of one of the knots. And it got me thinking, the wood's obviously been cut from the tree.
Yeah.
So why does the sap continue to drip from the knots in the wood?
Well, I mean, it would have been warmer, would it? Because it was indoors for the first time?
Possibly, although the heating, there was no heating in the building at the time.
So, I mean, I suppose we need to know how long it has been cut, do we? Or not? I mean,
I would have
you get
no
sap
idea.
after years, can't you, though, sometimes? If you'd like your front door is in direct sunlight on the hottest day of the year or something like that, no?
Yeah, so that kind of adds to my question. So why, if the wood's been cut from the tree for X amount of months or years...
How long does sap stay...
How does the sap stay in the
How long does the sap stay in the wood? What makes it come out of the wood?
And what makes it come out?
I like that.
You know, is it seasonal? Does it come out more...
What prep products do you use? My friend Gary will want to know what prep products you use.
So we obviously use knotting oil for the knots in the wood.
Of course.
A wood filler for the holes in the wood,
nice.
And we use a primer, a shellac-based primer.
There we go. So you can't. It's all about the prep. 99% prep. Do the prep. You'd be golden. It's very true. It'd be resin, I think, rather than sap, would it? Or not? I don't know. It doesn't matter, does it? It's goo. We call it goo.
We'll call it goo.
That's the last thing you need. Right. You're on. Why and when for Richard in Loughton?
Why and when?
Thank you very much. James. No, thank you, mate, and good luck. Daniela is in Manchester. Daniela, question or answer?
It's an answer.
I've just had a thought, Daniela.
Perfect.
Next time I need a stingle, because Emily Maitlis is so hard to pin down, I'm going to get Seth to do it.
No, I was so amazed at Seth's voice.
Didn't he have a lovely voice?
So smooth.
Absolutely.
You could just... No,
like treacle.
Exactly. If you heard him on the radio saying something about, I'm going to sell you a sofa or something
a mystery hour board game.
I just do it.
How They Broke Britain. How They Broke Britain by James O'Brien. How They Broke Britain. I said, can we make sure, Eleanor, we keep Seth's number for next time I ask.
Your sales would improve like hell.
I think you're right. Next time I needed a sting and it takes 6 months to get one, it'd be nice if it was Seth voicing it at the end of the process. Sorry, Danielle, a question or answer?
That's all right. I've got an answer for your hominid question.
Oh, okay. Hominid.
Right.
So this is the species of hominids.
It's the genus.
Yes. Pardon?
It's genus.
No, it's just the way I'm sitting. Carry on.
Well, I wasn't quite sure. No, it's the taxonomic system of...
Yes.
Anyway, I'm getting into details. I have a marine biology degree, but I only specialize in the final year. So the standard accepted scientific answer is we didn't kill them all off, all the other hominids.
Right.
The last surviving hominid, apart from ourselves, was Homo neanderthal.
Yes.
And we just outcompeted for available resources, and especially with, they were more adapted to very, very cold environments, like the last ice age, and we just outcompeted them. And
so we ate all the pies. We ate all the pies. Yes.
But an interesting fact.
Go on.
Genetically speaking, any human of Indo-European Caucasian origin is between 1.7 and 2.3, so average 2% Neanderthal DNA.
So interbreeding then was part of it as well.
Yes, there was a lot of interbreeding.
Is it notably higher in some people? Is it possible someone could be 10% Neanderthal?
Well, looking at some people, you'd think so.
I was thinking,
average is 2%.
And can they feed themselves for 30 pence, do you think, the people that are 10% Neanderthal?
Possibly. However, some scientists say that the circadian rhythm, the people who can adapt very quickly to sunlight changes and become extremely morning people, apparently that's a Neanderthal trait.
Really? Well, you live and learn. So obviously,
I'm not a morning person.
I should have been a bit cleverer. Of course, we didn't wipe them all out using violence, although I bet there was some violence. But then there's also the opposite. Sure there's also the opposite of violence. There's some sweet, sweet love. So the interbreeding that took place as well.
Exactly.
But mostly it is evolutionary. We're just better at getting all the food.
Exactly.
And the shelter.
But I think some of it with the interbreeding, I think some of that with the Neanderthals saying, if my genes are going to survive,
right,
I'm going to have to pass it on that way.
Maybe. I don't know if it would have been that sophisticated a thought process. It might just have been...
They were actually very, very intelligent.
No, I know they were, but so they might also have been quite horny. So they might not have just been thinking, I want to pass on my genes. They might have just been thinking, I want to get my rocks off, baby.
You never know. They did actually have very big brains compared to the body size.
I think the Neanderthals probably need new PR.
Mm-hmm. You never can tell.
You never can. Danielle, it's a lot of qualifications. I know you told me, but tell me again.
Say again, sorry?
What are your qualifications?
I've got a marine biology degree, and I covered a lot of things like this as part of my degree.
Round of applause for Daniela, please.
Ooh, a round of applause. Awesome.
There you go. Don't spend it all at once. Carrie's in Dublin. Carrie, question or answer?
It's an answer.
Carry on.
To the schnauzer.
Yes, and the bamboo. The old bamboo. The old bamboo.
Well, my take on it is they were bred to hunt vermin.
Hang on a minute.
Rats.
What do you mean your take on it is?
Well, I'll explain it. So, schnauzers were bred to hunt vermin, rats, and bamboo is notorious for housing rats.
That's true.
It makes it's a perfect environment for both a nest and for food. And I would assume, based on gun dogs and how they normally act when there's a scent, is that's why they're reacting. I don't breed schnauzers, but I breed gun dogs.
Oh, so you think that they are listening for rats?
I would say there's a scent there, and so they're either pointing it out, and so that's why when they go on little trips to people's houses and there's other bamboo, they're either smelling rats that are there or have been there.
Because rats do love bamboo. Rats love bamboo.
Yeah,
I know that's true. My rat catcher told me that.
Yeah, they do. We got rid of bamboo because of it.
Yeah, that's what they told us. Well, it was our neighbours, actually, who had the bamboo. And they said if you can, get your neighbours to get rid of the bamboo. That's quite a good answer. Qualifications?
Breed gun dogs.
And have thoughts about this before, or have just put 2 and 2 together and come up with 4.5?
We got rid of bamboo because it was encouraging vermin.
And that means the species of the breed of dog, forgive me, is probably relevant to this.
Yeah,
the sight hounds. Are they called sight hounds? Are they called sight hounds? Is that a thing? No, sorry. All right.
They are prey hounds, but I don't specialise in schnauzers. I specialise in springers and cocker spaniels.
But what's the collective?
When they have a scent,
yeah, go on.
So when they have a scent, they get really busy. Their tail goes really fast. And so that might just be a scent of where something has been. So I would assume a schnauzer, like with pointers, they'll literally point to where the scent is.
Yeah, I like that. I think that you've probably got it, and there may be room for improvement, but we're unlikely to get it in the time available, so you get the round of applause.
Woo, thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Got some more top crane-related content as well from Connor. It says, with cranes, James, sometimes on sites with multiple cranes, they'll make one crane higher than the others so it can put up and take down all the other cranes, and then you only need a mobile crane for 2 visits. If you ever want to go up a tower crane, let me know and I'll sort you out. Can we keep Connor's details as well, please? James is in Taunton. James, question or answer?
Hello, yes, an answer for the sap, or it's actually resin, coming out of wood.
Marvellous.
And what it is the wood, when you get it from timber yards or wherever, although it might be seasoned or kiln dried, it usually won't be completely dry.
Yes.
And as the wood dries, it shrinks. And so as it shrinks, it compresses. And so that's why the resin starts to slowly exude from the wood, in particular around the knot, because that's where most of the resin is. And also the wood around the knot is usually much denser, so it tends to hold more water. And the water, it's actually what's known as bound water, because it's actually within the cells of the wood. And so it takes longer for it to dry. So although the wood might be pretty much dry all over,
yes, the knots would still be resinous, exuding.
Still contain bound water, and so it
well,
exudes.
I never. So partly the length of time between being deployed and being cut, and the length of time it's been dried for, but also the temperature in which it finds itself.
That's right, yes, and I found cedar of Lebanon is particularly bad for it. It can actually.
Well, that's why it smells so good. That's why it smells so good.
Exactly, yes, exactly that. I mean, and it can carry on sort of showing itself even a couple of years after it's supposed to be dry with cedar of Lebanon.
Qualifications?
I'm a chainsaw sculptor of over 26 years.
Is that your main job?
It is, yes. And funnily enough, I actually went to Shack, left in Beeds, 82. I was in Beeds, left in 82, yes.
Well, I never. So we missed each other by 1 year, I think.
No, I left in 82.
When did I leave? I left in 90.
Yeah.
Oh, so no, we missed each other by a little bit more than that. Well, goodness me. What different courses we've taken in our lives, James. Do you do commissions?
I try to avoid them. I prefer to make what I like to make. People see it and then they buy it. I do commissions.
How much for a Sheila Fogarty?
A carving of me.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I mean, yes.
5'11".
How could I charge that? It'd be priceless.
Life size. I love that. For people who don't know, Shack is the nickname for the school that we both went to. Did you pick this up at school, or did you develop it later?
No, at school I wasn't allowed to do art or woodwork because I wasn't good enough.
Good Lord. Well, you've shown them. Round of applause for James. Right, hang on. Can people see your work? Do you want to have an advert? It's the old school tie and all that, that's how it works.
Yes.
Do the handshake.
I've got a website, although the website looks like it was made 15 years ago by a 15-year-old, which it actually was.
Go on, what is it?
It's not been updated. But it's EnglishGardenArt.com.
There you go, EnglishGardenArt.com. Go and check out James's chainsaw sculptures. He got an advert, so he doesn't get a Mystery Hour board game, even though, obviously the old school drawer would do that. I think I'm going to give it to Jackie because she's put an earworm in my head. I got the old bamboo. I got Dick Van Dyke singing in my ears, and that's always a pleasant experience. That's it from me for another day. If you missed any of today's show, you can listen back on Catch Up on Global Player, where you can also pause and rewind live radio, as well as listen to a range of podcasts. Download it now for free from your app store, or head to globalplayer.com